Inside, displays overflowed with pastries glazed like gems and loaves, steaming with comforting warmth. To most people, it was just a place for a treat. But for Lena, standing hesitantly at the door with her young daughter Mira, it felt like a world she didn't belong to. Her clothes were stained, her shoulders slumped from exhaustion, and hunger had etched itself into her expression. Mira's eyes, though tired, held a faint spark that refused to die. They stepped inside quietly. Things looked too perfect, too delicate compared to their reality. Lena kept her gaze down, afraid of judgment, afraid someone might see the desperation she carried. She approached the counter, her voice fragile, and asked if there were any expired pastries or discarded items available, anything she could give her hungry child. The workers exchanged hesitant looks. The store's strict policy didn't make it easy to bend the rules. What Lena didn't know was that someone behind her had heard every word. A stranger who understood pain in a way she couldn't imagine. Each second that passed amplified Lena's embarrassment. She was about to turn and leave before her dignity dissolved completely, but hunger kept her feet anchored to the floor. Behind her stood Dorian Holly, a man known for his wealth but unseen in his grief. His dark coat blended into the background. Boo. But his presence carried the quiet ache of someone who had lived too long in silence. He'd come into the bakery seeking escape, intending only to buy a dessert tied to memories he rarely allowed himself to touch. But Lena's trembling plea struck a chord so deep it reverberated through years of buried sorrow. He saw the way she tried to hold herself upright as the world pressed down on her. He saw how Mira clung to her mother, quietly, without complaint. And suddenly, he wasn't watching strangers. He was watching echoes of a life he once lived, of a daughter he once held. Dorian stepped forward, his movements gentle. He didn't announce what he was about to do. He simply spoke to the cashier with calm certainty, ordering the bakery's freshest items, berry-layered cake, warm sandwiches, pastries, and 2 full meals meant to nourish, not just feed. Lena watched in confusion, assuming he was vying for himself. But then, he gestured for the staff to hand everything to her. The worker's hesitation melted away instantly. Lena stood frozen, unable to comprehend that a stranger was showing her such kindness without questioning her worth. Dorian didn't look at her with pity. He simply stepped aside, giving her space. Mira reached for the warm bag, her expression glowing with a joy so quiet yet so intense it warmed the entire room. Dorian turned to leave, not waiting for thanks. His gesture came from instinct, memory, and a heart that had just begun to thaw. Lena's hands shook as she finally accepted the bags. Tears she hadn't allowed herself to shed in months streamed down her cheeks. Mira held one bag close, as if it were the most precious thing in the world. Dorian paused near the door, and a quiet whisper escaped Lena's trembling voice. "Thank you."
Truly.
He turned back, offering a soft smile that reached into the hidden corners of his own past. "Take care," he said, and nothing more. No judgment, no obligation, just humanity. Lena and Mira stepped outside, settling on a bench where they shared their first warm meal in days. Every bite tasted like possibility. For the first time in a long time, Lena felt seen. Across the street, Dorian paused as sunlight brushed his face. Something stirred inside him, something he thought had died with his family. A gentle warmth, a small beginning. One of the bakery workers, Tessa, came outside with 2 warm cups of tea. Lena looked up, surprised, and accepted them with a shaky smile. "Mama," Mira whispered, "do you think that man was an angel?" Lena let out a trembling laugh. "Maybe just a good man," she replied softly. "Sometimes those are harder to find." That night, Dorian sat in his quiet apartment, a framed photo of his wife and daughter beside him. He touched the glass, brushing away dust from years of avoidance. Helping Lena hadn't erased his sorrow. bed. It had shifted a tree-shaping grief into something he could hold without collapsing. Somewhere across the city, Lena tucked Mira into her small shelter bed. Mira drifted to sleep with a full stomach and a faint smile. Lena whispered a grateful prayer, not just for the food, but for the reminder that people still cared. The next morning, Dorian returned to the bakery. He didn't find Lena or Mira, but instead of disappointment, he felt a sense of possibility. Their story didn't end. There it simply paused, waiting for whatever life would weave next. Two hearts, both wounded and both healing, now carried the truth that one act of compassion can redirect the course of a life. What do you think happens next? Let us know in the comments, and subscribe for the next chapter of their story.